Hey there, internets. So, a very late Saturday night rant. It's still technically Saturday night, as long as I get all finished up before here. Between technical issues and trying to get this shortened up and the cast being a pain, it's been getting later and later to get this done. So, Saturday night rant. So smash that like button, share it with your friends. I got number 17 subscriber last week. Let's see if we can get to 20 subscribers by the end of the month. That's like 2 weeks. 3 more subscribers. I'll have a whole 20. Okay, so we're going to be covering some things about education. It just goes on in an education establishment, because I had an interesting conversation that showed how a lot of this goes this week on social media. And then, of course, they have the SAFE-T Act, the bill in Illinois that is not about safety. It's about being unsafe with no cash bail allowed and releasing people on the street who are violent criminals instead of holding them until trial. And then we got Ron Desantis polishing up for 2024. I'm liking what I'm seeing. And we might even get a chance to mention Ted Cruz's basically trolling the gun controllers on and showing what the Democrats are really about on the Senate floor. But we may not get to that tonight. So, kind of an ambitious one. But this education thing I had this conversation which started with a retired teacher I know posting about something about Arizona. It says scores are up, and he said, they're going to go down now because they're taking the money away. Well, that also means you got less students, so you don't need as much money, right? And that just shows it is about the money. And that's all they think about, and what it's really about. Money, money, money. If you don't say, more money, they ain't doing it. In that thread, something productive did come out where someone brought up about Mount Vernon School District's superintendent getting a big 10% raise. Most of us ain't getting a 10% raise to even keep up with inflation. And they're getting one, but they're cutting teacher hours because they need to balance a budget. How about we start with cutting the raises for the administrators? But they don't do that, just like they don't want to fix the problem when this other person that was in part of this conversation, not the person that did the original post, don't want to throw someone under the bus. One of their complaints was, I spend my own money, just like we always hear from these teachers. I spend my money on supplies. They don't want to fix that problem, because if they fixed it, they couldn't continue to use it to try and get you to vote for higher taxes, because it'd be fixed. Yet we vote for higher and higher and higher taxes, and yet they don't fix the problem. That's why they're going to they make their cuts for teachers and paraeducators instead of administrators. And unnecessary stuff. They don't need as many administrators as they've had. Since 1950, they've increased administration 700%, and yet they don't have that. They can't get the job done. So, of course, there's the appeal to authority. How I've got my degree that I spent all this money on. There was the you don't know anything about education. I brought up I teach martial arts, and the difference between me and a public school is if the parents don't like how I'm teaching their kids or what I'm teaching their kids, they take them to another school. I've seen it happen. I was helping out at a school that's effectively since closed. They reopened it under a different name, and all at once 2 or 3 kids from another school, different style, suddenly they were over at our school, and parents wanted them over there, and one of the kids stuck around. In fact, it was like, that kid's a 2nd degree black belt. That one's a 1st degree black belt from that school. And I'm looking at the two going on their skill level, not even just a talent level, but discipline, obvious work ethic into their practice. I'm like, these two should be swapped. And they're about the same age, too. So, that's something you can do there, and the parents aren't paying twice because they're no longer paying the old school. But if you don't have vouchers or anything similar, You pull your kid out of the public school, you're still paying for the public school in addition to paying. Guess why only the rich people can afford to go to a private school? Because everyone's getting taxed for schools anyway that they're not using and aren't going to use ever. I've got friends that have kids in private school and homeschool. They still have to pay the taxes. And that's the biggest part of this. And they said I was too much on testing. Sorry, but that's how we know you're doing your job. We need to rip out the education system from the roots and say, look, we need to make it achievement-based, not age-based. Say, you achieve a standard, take that same national assessment test, the one that we all keep citing on the right, and showing that there's no improvement. Say, you need to pass at proficient at grade level this test to advance in grade. There's no reason that, or some similar test, there's no reason that end of 6th grade you shouldn't be able to add, subtract, multiply, divide, including fractions and decimals, before you leave the 6th grade. You shouldn't even go to middle school. The lowest math in middle school at 7th grade and 8th grade should be pre-algebra. That is the lowest math they should offer. High school, it should be nothing lower than algebra. Don't even waste your time with the kid if they're not ready for that. I've held karate students back because I've been about standards. I have a handful of students and a limited schedule, but that's part of the competition thing. Okay. And same thing with, and then they said I was buying into a trope about brainwashing students and whatnot, but these teachers that are I said, go watch the TikTok videos of these teachers doing that. Sorry, but even when I was in high school, there was a teacher I had to go into his class. Didn't have him myself, but go into his classroom because I was part of a construction class, wiring a place up for internet, and it had a podium that said every left-wing cause you can imagine on across his podium, and right in the center it says "Vote Democrat." A very subtle message about what he's about. Okay, and what the students should learn. I had a former FFA advisor. He'd run for office as a Democrat. I made a comment to him when I ran into him that I was Republican precinct committee officer. He's like, I thought we taught you better than that. I said, well, you had to learn just fine. Okay. I learned better than to vote Democrats. I had a history teacher. I will give Nagley I'll throw him under the bus. I'll give him credit for this. He'd push his politics as truth. He was well known for it. So that's part of why he'd hold up news articles and say, but people like Mackin say this, but look at this news article. That's where I learned back up your crap. I'll give him credit for making me better at backing my stuff up. But they're sitting there bragging about how these kids are coming out and how they convinced them to use pronouns. And we don't even have to talk about Project Veritas with the secret curriculum videos. I haven't watched parts 3 and 4, which I guess they're up to. Just the first one, where a principal talks about not hiring conservative teachers and Catholic teachers because he wants to shape the kids into being progressives. Just that by itself. Every authoritarian in the history of mankind has known that you capture the future by controlling the education. So don't tell me it's not happening, because if these teachers thought they would get fired for it, they didn't think there was at least a wink and a nod from the administrators, they didn't think their peers were okay with it, they wouldn't make those videos because they don't think they're going to get in trouble. These are videos by them bragging about it. Okay? So, but enough of that. Moving on to the Safety Act. On page, the big parts that people are upset about, because there are maybe some good points. It's a 764-page bill, and I didn't have time, having a day job, to read every last page of it. And the meat and potatoes part starts at page 336 that people are complaining about. 326, where if you're arrested for a Class B or C misdemeanor or traffic offense, if you don't pose an obvious threat, or you don't have a mental health issue or medical issue that makes you a threat to yourself, to somebody else, or safety, they have to give you a citation that shall be scheduled into court within 21 days and let go. I investigated this part because someone said trespass was part of it, and that is true. Trespass, if I recall, memory serves, is a Class B misdemeanor. It might be a Class C, but it's no higher than a Class B, which means the arresting officer just says, "There's your ticket. You'll be scheduled to court. You got to appear." And I recall watching a Canadian version of Cops or something similar years ago. They did something similar up there. I don't know that it's a good idea, but that's part of it. Then starting at page 334, right at the bottom of the page, if you're looking on at the PDF, and I will have this linked in at least by tomorrow afternoon. Willful flight. This is where they cannot use a habitual habit of not showing up to your court dates to say this person ain't going to show up. Willful flight means planning or attempting to intentionally evade prosecution by concealing oneself. Simple past non-appearance in court alone is not evidence of future intent to evade prosecution. That is the literal quote. I just read it right off the PDF for you. So that is in there. So you can make a habit if you're Mr. Johnny Dangerously. Fun movie if you understand the reference, but we'll just say we're going after Johnny Dangerously and his mafiosos. He can just not show up. They can't and say he's not a flight risk, but he skipped court last time and went through all this rigmarole. Nope, can't do it. And then 335, 337 is the abolition of monetary bail, and prosecutors have to ask to continue to hold the defendant. If they don't ask, it doesn't happen. Victims can ask for a protective order. There is that much, but that's not saying much. So then it eliminates cash bail, and they have to continue to justify to hold you. They have to say, Mr. Johnny Dangerously is a mob boss. He has already threatened to make the person pay who is a witness against him. And this is going to get into the next section here, starting at page 370. But they have to justify holding you. If you do miss your court date, they have to serve you within 48 hours for a show cause hearing of why you have to they have to show cause to deny or take away your pretrial release, which I guess you may or may not be able to use. Hey, he skipped his court date. We need to take him into custody because apparently he can't be responsible enough to show up for court dates, which shouldn't be that hard, but apparently it can be because you hear about that kind of stuff. It shouldn't be that hard to say, even if you're working, hey boss, I got a court date. I need to schedule one of my days off. I mean, a lot of us don't have weekends off anyway. I know I don't. And then the other big part is, that a lot of people who are felons are just going to be released. And this is where it gets a little stickier, but it also gets ridiculous. And here's why. It says, upon verified petition by the state, the court shall hold a hearing and may deny a defendant pretrial release only if. So they still can go ahead and release them. The defendant is charged with a forcible felony offense for which a sentence of imprisonment without probation, periodic imprisonment, or conditional discharge is required by law upon conviction, and it is alleged that the defendant's pretrial release and And is a key part. It's not just the first part, but and is alleged that the defendant's pretrial release poses a specific, real, and present threat to any person or the community. So, Mr. Johnny Dangerously gets arrested, and they say, yeah, so why is he a danger? Well, he's a mob boss. Well, has he threatened anybody? Well, no. Well, I guess we can't hold him. But he could send a hitman. Has he threatened anybody? So you have to be specific. You can't just say, he likes to go out and commit armed robbery. He has a habit of it. You can't use that as a reason to release him. Or it says if the defendant is charged with stalking, is 2. The defendant is a victim of the abuse as a family or household member. The defendant is charged with domestic battery or aggravated domestic battery. 5, the defendant is charged with any offense under Article 11 of the Criminal Code. That's the sex offenses. Shockingly, apparently the Democrats still think those should be illegal. The defendant is charged with any of the violations under the Criminal Code of 2012 and is alleged the defendant's pretrial release poses a real and present threat to the physical safety. So you have to still provide a threat, a reasonable threat. And then a bunch of gun stuff like habitual criminal, reckless discharge of a firearm, reckless gun running. There's some for kidnapping. But it doesn't say you have to deny. It says you may deny. And you have to still be a real present threat. So there's no automatic. And if somebody can say, he's not a real present threat, and specific threat, they got to let him go. So they, it basically is going to put criminals back on the street because there are judges who are just going to let every criminal go because that's what people have voted in. So this thing is, the complaints are legit. It's charged in here. In addition, this entire law is transphobic. The pronouns used in it are he and she. There's no z's and zers and zogs and theys and thems and wolves. My pronoun of master self is not mentioned. So this law needs to be repealed on that ground alone because they don't have my pronouns. The woke crowd has to get with it. And for those wanting to know what a forcible felony is, a forcible felony means treason, first-degree murder, second-degree murder, predatory sexual criminal assault of a child, aggravated criminal sexual assault, robbery, burglary, residential burglary, aggravated arson, aggravated kidnapping, aggravated battery resulting in great bodily harm or permanent disability or disfigurement, and any other felony that involves the use of or threat of physical force or violence against any individual. But you have to be a real, present, and specific threat to whoever is being a threat. And then lastly, you have in the I gotta stop that. Find my link here that I had closed previously by mistake. Ron DeSantis decided to send a mere 40 illegal immigrants who had been let in by Biden and shipped to Florida. And apparently it's okay for Biden to ship people around. Up to Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard is a very heavily Democratic area because New York and Massachusetts and Vermont and Connecticut and Delaware and Rhode Island and Washington, D.C. and Minnesota and a lot of these other blue states keep voting for open borders. They keep voting to let all these people in and say, oh, but I just want to help these people. I remember a friend, but we got to help these people. But why? Because I want to help them. But why? I want to help them. We should help them. And just, this via social media, effectively just pounding the table, trying how they wanted to help. people who, a lot of them aren't actual refugees. No, the group is Venezuelans, and that led me to believe that maybe they don't want Venezuelans in Martha's Vineyard, because that could start to shift how people vote if they became legal residents and then citizens, if they did get asylum. Because we saw how peddling socialism and to Venezuelans and Cubans worked in Florida in 2020. Democrats lost a couple of other previously safe seats and couldn't figure out why. That generally doesn't work. So they did this, and then of course they went from, we got to help these people, and I will grant, I'm listening to this initially on Tim Pool, and he read the tweet or something by somebody from there, said, hey, we vote for these policies, we need to step up and help these people. That guy is not going to be a Democrat forever, because he's actually trying to walk his talk. But they said, we don't have the facilities for that. I call crap. They have restaurants. They could give them a little stipend to feed themselves at those restaurants. Would help the restaurants out. They're all for, it's ending of tourist season. Maybe give a few more hours to the seasonal workers or the people that work part-time. They have hotels. I just called up hotels.com, looked for hotels in Martha's Vineyard, and you can get a hotel at the Tidewater Inn that has a pool. So, hey, these people go swimming even for $82 a night before all the taxes. The Hyannis Host Inn for $87 a night. The Yarmouth Resort for $89 a night. 20%, 6% off at the Keep Sands Inn for $93 a night right now. Rated as very good at 8.2. $98 a night at the Heritage House Inn. It's only got a 6 of 10 rating, though. That's probably unsuitable. We need to do better for the immigrants and be more welcoming. At least require a rating of 7. Hey, they got an Econo Lodge. Man, Econo Lodge is more expensive. And it's only rated as a 5.8 on here. But those are all in Martha's Vineyard. They could easily house 40 of them. The liberal Democrats in, I think, San Diego County pushing the homeless problem out to another town and giving them vouchers to the hotels. They shouldn't have any problem putting them up in a hotel. But what they really don't want is they don't want that problem in their own backyard. This is pure NIMBYism. They want all the benefit of being able to say how compassionate they are without the sacrifice. They say they don't have the facilities to handle it, but somehow they think that Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and the states adjoining them do. They want to ship. They think it's somehow what Ron Desantis did was somehow different than sending illegal immigrants where by night secretly by Biden to all these red areas. They think they're equipped to handle it. None of them are. I don't have a problem with immigrants. I like legal immigrants, but it is spitting on a legal immigrant to just let an illegal immigrant stay with amnesty. And what Biden's doing is trying to load it up and just have open borders. And they don't want to deal with the actual problem. So the meme I saw that showed Ron DeSantis' face and said, "Fix the border or we'll bring the border to you." All for it. So send a bunch of them to Martha's Vineyard. I'm sure that their hotels could use the extra business. So with that, 3 kind of subjects there. Again, make sure you share this. And remember, Democrats are voting for this crap when it comes to the immigration and releasing felons, driving up crime rates, and not fixing the schools. So keep that in mind. Until then, you all take care.